Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Post-Turkey Day Ryan Goodman podcast, along with yours truly, Gary Tangway. Got to tell you, though, still looking for a gig out there. You want to do some networking, you got to go to LinkedIn Talent Solutions, create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. They use simple tools on LinkedIn Jobs to quickly filter and prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small business rates LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires for leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/scribe. LinkedIn.com/scribe to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, gentlemen, let's get to it. Steph Curry has been the big story this year. I mean, really from Jump Street. So, Bob Wright, I'll start with you. As my 16-year-old son said to me, I said, Van, what's the deal with Curry? Last year, I mean, the Warriors kind of sucked. And he goes, Dad, this year, Steph cares. Is it as simple as that?
Well, that's an interesting novel observation. I certainly won't assent to that. I have no idea. I find that hard to believe. Last year was a weird year for people everywhere, playing in empty gyms, et cetera, all the stuff that swirled around. You give everybody a mulligan, and I do. I just everybody a mulligan year in sports. So, okay. All I know is this. He's never been better. And that's saying a whole hell of a lot. We are talking about a player who is, in his specialty, the GOAT, the greatest shooter of all time, the greatest person who can get a shot off at an incredible distance and make it as often as he does. He is revolutionizing the game. He is influencing the game in a manner that only a handful of people in the history of basketball have been able to do. You don't need any more than this. In fact, you might not even need this. You may only need this. The people who have had a personal impact on how the game is being played. And he is at the forefront of this as much as anybody that has ever taken a three-point shot.
The crazy thing is, I mean, he's turning 34 this year. This is his 13th season in the NBA. And like Bob said, he's playing – I think he's playing better than he ever has because here's why. Not the offense. We've seen the shot. We've seen the ability to make crazy shots. He's averaged 30 a game before. He's averaging just shy of that right now. The defense. That's where Steph Curry has gotten better. When he came into the league, he was an atrocious defender. And then he became an average defender. And now he's become a plus defender. And that is the reason, guys, why Golden State is back to being the best team in the league right now. Their offense is clicking. We know that. They play fast. They make threes. They got a lot of guys in their team. Jordan Poole stepped up. Yeah. Wiggins is fine in a complementary role. But it's their defense. And I really think it's gone from where Steph was a liability years ago to now where you can't attack him. He's got pride in that. And I think last year, Gary, listen, he tried last year. Steph Curry is one of the very few guys I don't think has changed over the years. I think he's the same in his approach, his preparation, everything about it. I think he tried last year. I just think, like Bob said, it was a different year. And ultimately, they weren't guarding as a team other than Draymond Green like they are this year.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell my son when he gets home from school that Jeff and Bob think he's dumb. But that's
speaking of Draymond.
Yes, that's my next guy. Go ahead.
Oh, good.
No, go ahead. Draymond. To me, he seemed Draymond. To me, Bob. I thought Draymond was reading his clippings too much. I thought Draymond was too worried about being Draymond. This year, he seems to be back to the guy that made him Draymond.
Now, here we are in agreement. He clearly is playing Draymond Green basketball. Do you realize that as we speak, he is averaging 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists a game? Literally. I mean, awesome. Rounded off. The latter two are rounded off. But the fact is, they will go down the books as 888. In addition to the known defense and the pizzazz, the presence, the leadership, whatever word, the karma, the charisma, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, that he brings, that it makes him Draymond Green. and as opposed to all the other players in the league, there's only one Draymond Green. And he's back being that guy that won championships again, I think, and is instrumental in what's going on with the Warriors.
But the crazy part, Gary, is that they don't have James Wiseman. They don't have Klay Thompson. Obviously, they don't have Klay Thompson, one of the best shooters on the planet. He's not back yet. He'll be back soon. Wiseman, gives them something they don't have, which is just a rim-running big man who can run the court, finish, block shots, alter shots. He's perfect for everything they need. And, oh, by the way, their top two – remember, they had 2 lottery picks this year. They're playing a combined 14 minutes a game, combined between Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. So they've got young guys still ready to kind of take that next step. But I'm not convinced Kuminga is going to be a star or anything like that. But he's barely playing. Moody's barely playing. Klay is not playing. Wiseman's not playing. And they're still, 18 or 19-2.
Well, Poole's the revelation to me, Jeff. You can speak to this about, if you saw anything like this coming.
No, I didn't see it coming out of Michigan at all. I mean, you knew he could be a shot maker, but no, you didn't think he'd average 18 points a game for a team that has like 18 points a game for the Houston Rockets or the Detroit Pistons, maybe. Not 18 points for the best team in the NBA. Heck no.
Is there room for Klay Thompson, Bob?
Oh, of course there's room for him. But I just wonder after 2 years, I mean, I'm deadly curious to see what he can bring to the table after 2 years. If he's 80%.
Bob, he could still do this. He could stand there and do this.
Oh, right? Well, then there's a plus. I mean, and we know that he was a plus defender. And now I don't know, once again, we don't know how he's going to be in that category. We don't know anything. But if he can still, obviously it's stroking it. I'm really right. Klay, don't blame me. I voted for you. All right? Don't blame me. Okay? I just want to be on record. I voted for you, Klay. So don't blame me. But, what a thing. Talk about an injection of, life and plasma in January if they get him. Oh, wow. I mean, and he's 80%.
Yeah.
But what he was, hey, as long as he's realistic about what he can accomplish, I think he will be. I think that what we've seen and observed about Klay Thompson, the human being, I think he'll be quite rational about everything that is involved here. So, in which case, oh boy, they're best. There's the song called Carolyn Lee, and there's the best maybe yet be coming with them this season. Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to screw up their chemistry. That's not Klay Thompson's. No. He doesn't have that type of personality that he's going to walk in and say, I got to be the guy from the moment I step on the floor. And Steve Kerr is so good with people, and so is Bob Myers, that they'll have conversations. They'll bring him along slowly because, again, he has missed the 2 years with the torn ACL and the torn Achilles. So he understands all that matters. They've been through it enough, right, is being – back to as close to 100% as Klay Thompson can be for the postseason.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the time of this recording, it is the day of probably the biggest game of the year so far, which, if there is such a thing before Christmas in the NBA, with the Suns, who, again, at the time of this recording, they won 16 in a row, and they're going to take on the Warriors tonight. So, I'm just going to let you two go. Bob, I'll start with you. Break down the Suns. Talk about, is this going to be a rivalry we see between these two teams in the West now?
Well, I hope so. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm certainly building my night around it, and I'm looking forward to it very much. And but it's going to be another one on Friday, I know, by the way. So it's a good week for it. I took a little, just checking out the Suns. The Suns, to me, first of all, with the balance that they've displayed, they got a consummate scorer in Booker. They got a consummate playmaker and a Hall of Famer in Paul. But they also have balance, and it's a team that John McLeod, God rest his soul, would have loved. This is his kind of team. They have 9 guys averaging at least 8 points a game.
Yeah.
They spread the talent. They spread the ball. They spread the minutes. John McLeod was the master of. I don't know. He had a unique timer in his head to parcel out minutes over the short and the long haul, unlike any coach I've ever seen. To a fault, by the way. I think it backfired on him at times. But he's sitting up there saying, that this is their tribute to me. The way that they are playing and how they're balancing this out. That's one of the most unprecedented. I mean, that's very seldom in the history of the league. What I tell you, what I just told you, 9 guys averaging 8 points a game on a team.
And it's working. We've seen the Celtics play 9 guys and it doesn't work. It's working.
The pieces fit with this team, right? I mean, you've got like Bob said, a Hall of Fame point guard who needs to stay healthy when it matters most. That.
Okay.
But if they don't have a healthy Chris Paul in the postseason, they got no shot. And DeAndre Ayton, they didn't pay him what he thought he was worth. So you wonder how much more motivated he's going to be right now to show what he's worth when he's healthy. And he's missed a few games. And Frank Kaminsky came off the bench and was great when Ayton was out. Mikal Bridges is perfect. He is perfect for this team because he doesn't need the shots. He doesn't need the ball. He's a great two-way wing, what everybody wants in this league right now. And then you got like Jay Crowder for your toughness, right? He's just your toughness. He can make a three. He guards, can't really dribble, but really doesn't need to dribble with the Phoenix Suns because they've got Devin Booker and Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton.
Are they a real threat, Jeff? Are they a real threat to the Warriors?
Yeah, they're a real threat. Sure. I mean, they've got two of the top, 20 players in the league. Again, when Chris Paul's healthy. And again, what Chris Paul gives them is a professionalism that they probably did not have before he got there. And that's where he's probably allowed Devin Booker to grow up even more. Not that Book was always mature anyway, but I think he's added a different dimension to this team and this organization for a lot of the young guys as well.
I mean, Bob, do you think that the West has changed to the point that it's now the Suns and the Warriors and the Lakers are co-stars?
Well, I'm just make sure I don't misspeak in any way here.
None of us have done that.
No, I'm just going to say, and obviously the Clippers, it never happened, and it's not going to happen. The Lakers, that's a whole other category. The Lakers are not really a factor at the moment. The team that I had loved that had injury problems and starting going back to last year. Denver, forget them. Utah is a team still that you have to be.
But do you trust them? Do you trust them to be able to win it?
I don't.
I'm just throwing it out there that they've hinted at. They've kind of teased their fans for sure.
Well, I got to tell you right now about the Warriors, and from a marketing perspective, I think they're the good guys. Even though Draymond can be, listen, if you're not a Warrior fan, Draymond's the guy you love to hate, blah, blah, blah. I thought last year was a tough year marketing-wise for the NBA because while we love the Freak, it's Milwaukee. It's Milwaukee. No disrespect to my friend Treddy's hometown, okay? But that guy needs to be in a major market. I'm thinking like, David Stern here. The Warriors are good for business. They're good guys. I mean, they are so likable, Jeff. They're my second favorite team. They're so likable.
But the other part of it, Gary, is your 16-year-old son would much rather watch Steph draining 35-footers than Giannis driving a lane and finishing around the rim.
Absolutely. It's true. I mean, Bob, thoughts on that?
Bob doesn't. Bob would rather watch Giannis.
Yeah.
But he's in the minority.
It's sort of balance. I love about Steph Curry. No, don't talk. He can go to the hoop.
Yeah, he can.
He can go to the hoop at will, and he can go to the hoop with ambidextrous dexterity, if you will. I love the fact that he can. He's a complete player. I mean, his signature and his image is about the threes, and that guy just got anointing him as the greatest shooter of all time. But it's not all he does. Right. Plus, by the way, here's my favorite thing about, he'll have 37, we're not used to that. And, wait a minute. He had 8 assists.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Yeah. He had 8.
He's not a selfish 28-point-a-game scorer.
Yeah, he's not Ray. I mean, no disrespect to Ray Allen. Ray Allen did one thing. He was a shooter. That was it. But Steph is such a great shooter. You forget about the other things he does well. But, I think from the Warriors' perspective, like this year now, because, when I think about the NBA, I love the rivalries. I love the Bird Magic. We know all that stuff, right? But, now with the Warriors are back, I just felt like the Lakers, I have a hard time as a fan Jeff, rooting for LeBron and Anthony Davis. I root for the Warriors.
It's weird. It's weird too. Anthony Davis is like the nicest kid you'll ever meet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he is. And LeBron's not a bad guy.
He's not having a great year. I mean, that's part of the problem right now is, again, LeBron's been out. We wondered how Russ would mess with them anyway, and it has not gone well at all. I think it's more of people don't like Russ. So I think LeBron they're almost tired of him to some degree at this point.
And I think he's tired of us.
Well, I'd like to see one more kind of swan song for LeBron in the finals against Golden State. I think that's what most people would rather see than Phoenix, Golden State. Now, again, I know,
Agreed.
Phoenix, Booker's fun to watch. Their team is, again, Chris Paul. I'm not, I'd much rather see a Lakers, Golden State, Western Conference.
I would too. And I hope we do. I just wonder about the Lakers, All right. So guys, it's time to remain calm. Calm is the #1 app for sleep and meditation, as they have teamed up with our friend LeBron James to help activate the power of sleep. It's the key to your mental fitness. LeBron and Calm know that your mind is like any other muscle in your body, but you don't have to be a world champ to learn how to train it. LeBron's sleep is a critical part of his mental fitness routine. So if you head to calm.com/scribe for a limited time, you'll get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. With Calm, you have access to the nature scenes. When I hear nature scenes, I just imagine Bob Ryan up, in Weld Lake in the summer. You love the rain and the leaves and so much more. Sleep stories and meditation so you can be ready for any challenges that life throws your way. Again, here's the prescription. Calm.com/scribe. Calm.com/scribe. You get 40% off. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, sleep better. Get calm.com/scribe. That's calm.com/scribe. I hope we get paid by how many times I have to say that. Okay, so now to me, this is a fascinating story here because John Wall is a guy that when I used to see play with Washington, I would on the floor. I remember when Brad Stevens first got in the league. Bob, I'll start with you and him. And Brad said to me, I can't believe how big John Wall is. I mean, he's just he's just a big bodyguard. And I expected a lot from him. And now he's with Houston. He's got $91 million remaining on his contract. He wants to play. They don't want to play him. We'll get to Kevin Porter Jr. in a minute. What happens with John Wall?
I don't know. I mean, you heard, first of all, I think of him, I think of speed. And not just big, but
yes.
It's a strange story. It's a very strange story. Now there was all this talk about he and Beal and the relationship thing that was dominating that team at the time, and that discussion. But what's going on here is it's really fascinating. I mean, they're paying him not to play, and I don't know what this. It's some kind of a game of chicken, right, with an agent. And Jeff, I'm just sitting back and going, whoa, I don't know what can you add to bring to this, Steph?
Listen, the bottom line is if you're Houston, you got to take the hit and eat some of the salary. That's the only way you're going to be able to move him. Nobody's going to want to, for what? Why would you want to pay him 2 years at $91 million? He's got a player option for $47 million.
I mean,
2022-23.
How did that happen?
Well, because he averaged, in 2017, so we're talking about 4 years ago, he averaged 23 points and 10 assists a game.
Yeah.
So that, honestly, John Wall at that point, Washington couldn't afford to let him walk. They overpaid because they're maybe not a small market team in terms of the city that they reside in, but they are a small market team and they can't attract big time free agents. So they overpaid for him. Then he gets hurt. He balloons up weight wise. He appears disinterested, but I'm with you. Listen, the first time I ever saw him play, I think it was after his sophomore year of high school in Vegas. And I said to myself, he is the quickest damn point guard I have ever seen. He is that fast. And, normally you look at quick point guards as, 5'11", 170 pounds. This dude is big. He's strong. He's electric.
He's a fullback.
Allen Iverson size.
Yes. Bigger. He's bigger.
I'm just saying, what you were just saying about the normal guy that we associate with that extraordinary quickness. I remember being blown away by the young Allen Iverson in that regard. And that was his calling card. And Derrick Rose was very much like that too. And you look, he's not that big, in this context. Wall was something different. Yeah, it was a big freight train. It was, definitely.
So what's he got left, guys? Well, do you want him?
Again, what did Derrick Rose have left, right? I think John Wall can be kind of like Derrick Rose was. He's got to reinvent himself. The difference is Derrick Rose completely bought into it, became more of a cerebral player, not using and relying on his athleticism and being a great team locker room guy. That's what John Wall has to do. And if he can do that, again, nobody's going to fork over this type of money. Houston's going to have to eat a significant part of it. But ultimately, if you're Houston, get what you can at this point, even if it's a draft pick and another crappy contract, get what you can now, because ultimately you're not going to get much for him. I mean,
so we have two NBA scenarios running parallel in which a general manager is going to have to just face facts.
Yeah.
And the other one, of course, is in Philadelphia. And that we haven't heard anything new on that one in the last couple of weeks, right? It's just
both have Daryl Morey ties, Bob. Both have Daryl Morey ties.
Yes, right. Daryl Morey. Right. Yeah. So
no surprise.
Talking about Simmons, of course, by the way.
Of course, and this we're going to have a Simmons moratorium until something happens, because we've talked about him enough. I've expressed myself on him ad nauseum, and I don't want him. And I don't know who wants him. I don't know who wants him. And so we'll see. But
I'll say now the reason Wall's not playing is because of Kevin Porter Jr. Your thoughts on the decision by the Rockets to develop him now, Jeff?
Listen, Cleveland waived him because he's had multiple issues off the court. Is he talented? Of course. But are you playing with fire here with Houston? Absolutely. And as I always say, somebody has to put up numbers in every team. That doesn't mean they're real numbers. When you're losing game after game after game, and you blow a guy up like that, and you say how good Kevin Porter is, or Christian Wood, for example, for Houston, put it into context. These guys are losing game after game after game, and they're getting a lot of what I call phony numbers.
Yeah. Now, this has been the story. This is the reality of basketball, and not the only sport. Baseball, pitcher, plenty of historically circumstances in baseball have been very parallel with this in terms of guys putting up numbers on bad teams and teams overpaying for them and finding out, that's who they really are. It's very well. Of course, Daddy Porter was one of my least favorite players of all time. So as good as he was, and he was talented too. Interesting.
I love it when Jeff talks about the John McLeod and the 76 Phoenix Suns, which we all know had a tremendous series against the Celtics, Alvin Adams and Westfall and Van Arsdale and that whole crew right there. But what I love is the fact is Bob Ryan, covering the Suns, stayed at Paul Westfall's house.
Crazy.
Okay. Now, can you imagine today, a member of the media staying at somebody's house who they were covering it? I mean, it's just
what was that like, Bob? Yeah. Did you wrestle with yourself and whether it was the right thing to do as a member of the media?
No.
It was 1976. Who cares?
I know, but I'm still curious.
It was such a different world in every way. No, I mean, I was feuding with Tommy Heinsohn. Okay. He was feuding with me, whatever way you want to look at it. We weren't talking. And Westfall and I were, we're personal friends. I couldn't, and I'm not apologizing. I never made an apology for that or any other friendship I made in basketball and sports. And that's probably the best personal friend, I've ever made of an athlete. And when he was traded, it just so happened that my wife and I and Mike Lupica and his then date had been at dinner in Westfall's house in Needham about 2 nights, or the night before he found out he was traded. And that was just coincidental. We had no idea. He didn't have any idea either. Nobody had any idea. Anyway, yes, I did. I stayed at Westfall's house at 552 West Burridge Lane, Phoenix, Arizona, with the swimming pool. And here's my favorite anecdote about that. So with the time zone difference and an off day, I would be writing and I'd be done by like 3 o'clock their time, And so you head to the pool, West Falls pool. Alvin Adams was a neighbor, and he would be over there, and maybe somebody else. And then there was this other guy that was the 13th man on the 12-man roster. The guy left off the active roster. And he was happy to have somewhere to go, hang out, His name was Pat Riley. And so we were sitting around the pool day after day. I stayed at West Falls house and
did he cook you breakfast? Did he cook you breakfast the next morning?
I don't remember what the Cindy, I'm sure, we had breakfast. I don't know. No, Paul didn't cook, I'm sure. But probably Cindy did. But we stayed. And, I had a car, so I drove I drove into the practices and did the game and all.
Yeah, he drew the line there, Jeff. Drew the line there. He said, we can't ride together. I'm going to draw the line there.
Well, that
wasn't practical, but
I love that story. I've heard that story. I love that story. It's just a different story.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me. I've had multiple college basketball coaches say to me, when I come into town or whatever, stay at my house. And I don't know.
You can't today. Today's different. Today's different. Today's different. Back then, look, real quick, back then, Bob wasn't, if you were covering the NBA, you were covering the sport. You weren't covering social lives. You weren't covering, all of the things that happen off the court and off the floor. If it happened, that went to the news guy. It's just different now. It's just totally different.
I'll tell you, Gary and Jeff, who did make me breakfast. Okay. Dave Gavitt. And here's a quick story you'll love. Jerry Colangelo was in town to scout a Providence UConn game. And it was at the Civic Center in Providence, the old Civic Center, not the Dunkin' Donuts Arena, it's the same building.
Yeah.
And I was friendly with Colangelo. And so after the game, Gavitt invites us back to his house, to hang out a little bit. And he said, I'll make us some breakfast. I was a short order cook in Peterborough, New Hampshire when I was in college or something. I'm totally serious. So we go back to Gavitt's house. He doesn't have his keys. And he's knocking on the door for Julie Gavitt to come. And Julie comes shuffling out in her bathrobe with a look on her face that said, how many times am I going to have to do this? Apparently this was not without precedent. So anyway, we did get inside, and Gavitt cooked up eggs and bacon and toast and made breakfast for the three of us at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's my. And
for more Bob Ryan stories, make sure you go to Amazon.com and buy Scribe, his wonderful book. Guys, thank you very much. A pleasure. We'll talk to you again next week.